Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of
Office Hours.
There we go. We got it. It is nice to see you all today. We are talking today about authenticity. And Nick, as we're talking about authenticity, are there any confessions and authentic moments that we would like to have as they're starting to watch this show?
Yeah, that maybe we might not be live.
I'm sorry, y'all. We are not live this week. I'm actually going to be hanging out in San Francisco in the Adobe studio for a thing that you will find out about tomorrow. Stay tuned. Secrets. So I'm not here. Nick is not here, but we are here in spirit. And we are in our Discord. So discord.gg/ACC is the place that you can come hang out with us. We'll hang out in there. We'll answer questions you have. We'll also be in chat, which will be over here, I believe. So if you have questions, toss them in chat. We'll be hanging out with you. We will be here. But this is recorded on what day, what time? Let's get some content credentials on our stream today.
It is Sunday, July 23rd, 9:35 a.m.
Yes. So
that's commitment. That's authentic commitment.
Authenticity. So if you haven't watched this show before, we pick a theme every episode and dive into it within a creative context. We have done things like branding, color, money. There are episodes about any subject that you would like, and we are continuing to build that library. So if you have suggestions, you can drop them down in the Discord to let us know what you want to see. And speaking of that, Nick, I want to look real quick. Last week we had some homework. If you missed the episode last week, Nick, what did we do?
We did a fun little thing called Brand Slam.
Yes.
Brand Smash.
Brand Slam?
Brand Slam. That's so much better.
Yeah.
And but we were talking about branding and put out a fun little exercise for you guys to play along with us during the show. What did we get? Did we get anything kind of cool?
We haven't got anything yet, but it is only been 3 days. So we basically took one brand and smashed it with another brand to try to create unique brands that were like remixes. So go back, watch the episode, check out the homework, and then you can post in our Discord down below, discord.gg/ACC. There is a homework channel all the way at the bottom for you to get involved and show us what you can create, which is really fun.
And if you want to see what we did, go to our Twitter pages. You're at hawk.co.
That's true. Yes,
I'm
at hawk.co. Yes,
Yep.
Longo Designs Inc.
So
that was so much fun, and we'll be bringing that back again for a later episode. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to Adobe Live here on YouTube. Ooh, a spin-off show.
We're gonna finally get a spin-off. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yes, if Office Hours goes away for a while and Brand Slam becomes your new Wednesday show, Office Hours will be back. But maybe we do a little mini series.
We always talk about it when we're talking about how many episodes we had and everything. We'll be like, it's like when you see a TV show celebrating their 200th episode and they have the big cake and everything. It's like
That's us.
And then, like, we think that way.
Yep, 6 seasons in a movie, baby. So let's go ahead and hop in today. Nick, our theme is authenticity. And let's kind of just set the stage. What are we going to be talking about when we talk about authenticity within the creative industry?
This is a tough one because there's that line, there is no new idea, right? So the only thing we could do is find ways to get inspiration, get our research together, and put something together that we feel is really ours, right? It's authentic to not only us as an artist, but let's say whatever commercial viability we are making this for. So it's a tough one to strive for. How confident do you feel your breadth of work, percentage wise, do you feel is authenticity?
I feel like a lot. I think I put myself in a lot of my work, and so I think I try to make it very authentic. I think though that everything is a remix, and so I think there are things you could probably point out, like direct references of like, oh yeah, 100%. Like my whole thing is that I examine the past, consider the present, create the future, and examining the past is a lot of inspiration, right? And so people could say like, oh man, it's not authentic that like you did this and you did that. And it's like, oh, well, it was inspired by this. It took kind of a riff on it, processed through history, put it in a new context, and then have created something new out of that. So we're going to look at a whole bunch of different things today. We're going to have a conversation about what authenticity looks like in creativity, and then we're going to show you some tips and tricks on how to make your designs look more authentic. We also are going to be hopping into the Content Authenticity Initiative and show you how you can add credentials to your photos, your photos and your images, as well as what Adobe Firefly is doing to combat unauthenticity. What's the opposite of authenticity? Chat, let us know. We'll wonder that for the next 3 days. Yeah. Chat, let us know, please, right here, what you think the opposite of authenticity is. And let's hop in. So, disclaimer for this episode.
Anti-authenticity.
Anti-authenticity.
Who knows?
I think we need a little bit of a disclaimer for this show. So, we are going to be talking about some heated discussions. Here on Office Hours, we only like to take sides when we're talking about if we like something or not.
I know, but it's a little harder when...
And we very much take sides. And so the conversations that we're going to be having are about authenticity, and we're going to kind of show some examples. And the hope is that it's a conversation for us to kind of process together, to give your opinions, to give what you think. And we'll kind of give our insights onto what we think authenticity means and can be within a creative realm. So, Nick, where are we going to start this conversation with authenticity, kind of looking at maybe some examples?
Yeah, this is an interesting one that kind of made the news a year or two ago. I think it was just everyone automatically thinking that the 3M Futuro lifestyle compression tights, obviously that's their brand name, really resembled the F1 logo, which became so popular and was one of those, like, to me, I really believe this is one of my favorites. Over the test of time, I feel like this one has really, it's just such a strong logo for them as well.
Yes.
Here's the question. Was this too close? Was this actually influenced, or was it just complete coincidence? I think that's the question we can ask about a lot of these. Yep. Coincidence or an actual influence? Yep.
And I think that there is a conversation to be had of, like, when we're talking about authenticity, right? That it's like, oh, were they authentic or did they just rip it off? That it's like, oh, there's probably way more context about this. And is it a new enough idea to feel like it is an authentic shift? And it's like, maybe is the question. So I think when we talk about authenticity, I think it's such a hard conversation to jump into. You're not being authentic about like where you got the sources or whatever, versus like, oh, was there an authentic process, and does this feel like it is something that has gone through the creative process and has been vetted and like is authentically just what it is?
Well, what's interesting was, I feel, when the first comparison came out, the 3M version, instantly, without reading it, you thought was another automotive inspired product or something about racing. It has that vibe because we're so used to, I think, the F1 logo. To find out it's not then makes me go, well, at least the F1 has a rationale behind why it looks like that, why they took the F and the 1 and turned it into what feels like a raceway or lanes or something that is driven on. To me, there's no reason for that. If this is a lifestyle compression product, what does that mean? Is that kind of like supposed to be an arm or a leg or any kind, like a limb that has the stretch thing over it and it has the bend, like a knee or an elbow? I don't know, but
And I think looking at
faster with the F1.
Yeah, I think this is interesting because we talk a little bit about semiotics on the show, right? Semiotics, icons, indexes, symbols, how we understand visual language and how the pieces go together. And I think authenticity to me can come back to like, are the semiotics coincidentally the same to communicate that message? And I think that it's really interesting, especially with this one, right? That we see these and it's like, okay, we're talking about lifestyle compression. There's active people here. So there's going to be motion, which means like sharp lines. It's futuristic, which means that it's going to be, like sans serif, very modern. Like, I think that the semiotics of what it's trying to convey here, like, check out, right? That it's hitting all those points. Then we look at F1 and it's like, oh, it's an icon for a raceway track and it's got motion and speed and forward momentum. And I'm like, yeah, those check out as well. And so I think that like looking between the two, when the semiotics are similar, right, that we understand things moving, leaning forward with an angle, have motion and feel modern and sharp, that it becomes that authenticity of like, oh, you use the semiotics right. So maybe it is just a coincidence, right? That they are communicating a two different things using similar verbs and adjectives from a visual standpoint. And I think that's interesting conversation to have is that it's not necessarily just about where they landed, but it's about like the visual elements that they are using to get there.
I would vote it's a coincidence on this and then let's not forget the 4,000 other logos that probably look like this, but they're not big enough brands to have seen this.
Yep. Yeah.
Someone doing the F or an E. You see an E or an S done in a lot of ways in this, but you're right. It's the italicized slant that gives it that speed and that agility and that kind of like smoothness. So if those are the things behind what you're seeing here.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. And so let's go to another one that is in the news currently. This is a very, very modern one. And this is
we talked about it last week.
We did talk about this last week on the episode, the Glassdoor rebrand. So after this came out, right after our episode, actually, we started to see chatter online of this agency Puck that has a very similar brand. And there's been a ton of conversation around this over the last week of the authenticity of the creative process of this, of how it came to be. Glassdoor responded and kind of said, like, hey, we arrived at a similar like landing place. Creative process works to where you can land in a similar place. And I think that like my take on this is, again, looking at semiotics. I think that from the icons, indexes, and symbols, they are communicating similar things in similar ways. And so I think that when it comes to the authenticity conversation, it, for me, goes away from like, oh, are they being authentic, to like, what was their creative process? Like, without knowing that, it's hard to make a call, because like this illustration style is very popular within corporate culture. The type, very popular, like super sans serif. The colors, super trendy. They are communicating with semiotics, the things that we're looking at. And so I think that like the way that we're getting to the message is just like the same accent, right? That we're both speaking the same language. But it's hard in a world where so much creative work is going out to be like, did you see something? Did you riff on it? Is it completely coincidence? We won't know because we don't know the actual creative process of it.
If you look at the F1, I would probably rank that one as if 1 to 10 being like 10 full copy, 1 not even close. I'd give the F1 probably, and the Futura one maybe a 3, maybe a 3-ish, right? Like, okay, you everyone knows that logo. You're going to be influenced somehow. If I look at the Glassdoor to Puck one, I'd say you're in the 5 to 6 range, because there's too much coincidence for me. Now, here's the other thing. Everyone in that industry is doing something totally similar.
Yes, that is a very saturated style.
I feel like they joined that bandwagon to not be too disconnected from all this. But then again, do you want an authentic brand that is based on all of the rationale that you are? There's like the line we said last week is there's enough people out there in the world, be yourself, right? Like, why would you want to be so similar to something that is even close to your industry?
Yeah, and especially if you are talking about authenticity, right? Being authentic to your brand and what your brand stands for, your brand voice. Trying to figure out, what is that unique brand? How are we authentic in the way that is authentic to us, and not necessarily catering to a style or an industry, which is what I think both of these companies had to do, is that they're catering to an industry. They are kind of being authentic in a way to get clients, to stand out, to like get into that industry. And so I think that's an interesting conversation. I think brands are more unique when they are authentic, and when they're not trying to be authentic for an industry or for a client. I think it's better when it is authentically them. And I think that I look at, I'm trying to think of like a super authentic brand. Like Skittles. Skittles very much doesn't cater to the candy, like, ooh, we need to make it look delicious and creamy and amazing. They're just like, okay, so what if this guy, everything he touched turned to Skittles, right? That they have this irreverent, like, uniqueness about them. And I think that's interesting. And the same with M&M's, right? M&M's is a very, very authentic brand to itself that isn't necessarily catering to a candy industry, they're like cartoon characters. And so I think that like being authentic to what your brand is and not trying to cater into an industry will help stop a lot of these conversations of, is this being authentic, or is it copying, or is something like merging over? I think that's an interesting conversation to like examine your brand, really understand it, and then try to make it super authentic to you.
And those two brands also have a bit of legacy, right? They have been based on brands that were created 30, 40, 50 years ago, if not more, and get to stick with that and evolve over time. So I like to look at, I think the good question would be like, what current new just released brand in the last 3 to 4 years has that authenticity that you can really celebrate and go, wow, like that's something to be like, whoa, you found the perfect kind of ebb and flow with it. It's somewhat familiar, but it's surprisingly incredibly.
It's Patagonia. It's 100% Patagonia. That's the one that pops to mind for me, is that they are so authentic to themselves, but they are familiar to like the outdoor space.
I would even think something, and also they've again been around for 50 plus years, almost 100 probably. I think Pendleton is another one too, same little area there, but they have patterns and textiles that you would look at it and go, that's Pendleton. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost fashion the way what they've done in their outerwear and their blankets and things like that. So like, I love those brands that you can spot from a mile away. You don't need an ounce of branding and you know what it is. That's pretty often. And they're another thing is to look at who is often copied.
Yes.
Look at the Supreme thing when that came out. Now every brand has something very heavily influenced by Supreme, and they came out of nowhere with just, what was it, like Futura Italic Fat? Like it was like, right? Like unreal that what that can do to start a trend. There's something else very similar to that right now. What is it? I'm trying to think of they're just that perfect example of not really new, but back.
Yes. And that is something that we can talk about in a little segment that we like to call Expert Insight.
Yes.
So, Expert Insight, we are going to be talking about a principle called the Maya principle. And Nick, this is exactly what we've been talking about when we talk about authenticity, is being authentic with a twist. Can you tell us more about what is the Maya principle?
Basically what it is, it's you're designing for the future, but balance it with your user's present or past.
Yes.
What an incredible thing. When I remember hearing this method, I stopped and said, like, write this down, keep it as a Post-it. I love this idea of anything you are doing. What a buyer, what a consumer wants to see is that perfect blend. It's that like chemistry of familiarity. I've seen it before. I'm comfortable with it. And then 2, surprise innovation I've never seen before. How you mesh those two together is what the Maya method is all about. And it's just the coolest little thing to kind of think about. Apple is a big user of that as well. They pull from things you're familiar with, a lot of the simplicity of product design, right? Simple buttons, simple layout, and all that. But where they give you the surprise is maybe the finish or the tactile feel or the way it is in your hand, the usage of it. There's those things that you're like, oh, it's a beautiful combination. Beautiful.
Yeah, and I think a company that does this really well that I'm kind of looking right now as you talk for like case study stuff on is Levi's. I think Levi Strauss has done such an amazing job. And here's the case study that I found that I think would be good to look at. Turner Duckworth, which like uncomparable, absolute legendary agency. But I think that Levi's did such a great job at this long history, but staying authentic to themselves and kind of reimagining and reinvigorating how they communicate with this symbol, right? That it's just very modern, very new, but it is authentic to themselves and moving into, right, the like blanding of everything getting modernized and simplified, but keeping like the elements that are core to that brand, right? This is that Maya principle, that it is familiar with a twist to like be more modern, right? To give you a little more relevancy to the brand.
That is so cool.
Rad.
Well, this is that the big thing that they started this thing with was the Greyhound bus design back in the day. And it had this blend of future I've never seen before, like the streamline and the added details of the silver and the color palettes and this kind of like in motion logo, right? Like when you look at this, and what's so cool about that is this is where they got that influence, and then it's based on the familiarity of a bus, a vehicle, and something that is current day and nothing. So it's almost like exciting future old, right? And then new stuff as well. So I don't know why it's doing that, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the eternal spiral into inspiration sites.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
With that, there is a conversation to be had about authenticity today. And I think that authenticity is becoming more and more of this kind of question mark today.
Yeah.
As we head into an unknown. And what segment do we want to go to here?
This could be trend. Maybe
this could be trendworthy, right? Because we're going to be talking about AI. The hold on that screen's a little too long.
That was perfect because I did one of those quiet sneezes.
Oh, we heard
and
it.
I'm like, is he holding it for me? Because I was in that I'm like Nick's
doing a sneeze. I need to hold, sneeze, hold. So we're going to be talking about authenticity in AI, and Adobe Firefly is the AI that Adobe. It is an engine that Adobe uses to generate all kinds of images to help you in your creative process. But it also is responsible because it is using something called the Content Authenticity Initiative. So let's go ahead and kind of just create something and see how authentic it looks. So Nick, what should we create that might look authentic?
Ooh, why don't we do, let's see. What are you in the mood for? Like, are we talking artistic? Are we talking
let's try to create something that's like a photo, like photorealistic, that we might not be able to tell the difference of.
Yeah. How about like a homemade, I'm trying to think of like the most authentic photo you would take of maybe family or landscape or something.
I almost want to do like a birdhouse, maybe.
Okay.
Right, like you've like made like a little birdhouse. Let's do a landscape actually. How
about a handmade birdhouse made from found objects?
Good luck. I just want to see what that looks like now.
Handmade, I just love challenging any kind of AI.
Birdhouse
made from found objects. Because I love that idea.
Yes, this is not going to look authentic.
That's pretty, but who knows? But I think anything in that zone would be authentic because you're making it from scratch. You're making it from chance. Ooh.
Okay, let's type in photorealistic here.
There you go.
We're getting closer. I don't think that this is necessarily like questioning the authenticity of it, but let's see what happens here. Okay, still looks a little bit illustration. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do landscape of mountains and fog with castle on a hill in the distance. Right, so this is something that we could travel to Ireland and maybe we see this kind of image in Ireland. It's going to do art by default. We need to change that to photo, and let's get that going. Okay, I'm going to do, what is it? I think perfect shot was one that I've been using. Okay, those are getting pretty good. So in the world of AI generation, right, we are in a zone where authenticity is a question mark, right? This one's pretty good. So authenticity, kind of a question mark. And let's see, sure, we can do this one. Let's do this one. So let's say that we see this image, right? And we're like, where was that image taken? And someone's like, oh, I went to Ireland and I took this image, right? And they've just downloaded it from Adobe Firefly. What's really cool is you can actually take that image and come over here to the content-authenticity.org. And this is an organization that is helping authentic storytelling through digital content provenance. Provenance?
Provence.
I think provenance. There's an N in there.
I think it's provence because isn't that right? Well, we'll have to YouTube that.
Anyway, yes, it is a group of tech companies that are trying to make sure that you understand what is trustworthy and what is authentic. And so you can click on right here, go to verify. And verify is a really great tool to help you understand what you can trust, what is real, what has been generated by AI. And check us out. All you need to do is click on inspect image. You also can do inspect a new file right here. And then we can upload our own file. So we're going to click here and then come to the downloads of that picture from Ireland that may not in the future have this watermark on it. Again, right now, Firefly is in beta, not for commercial use. And so it always has a watermark when you download. But what's really cool is over here, you can see that it is showing everything about this file, and it's showing that it was used the AI model Adobe Firefly Pipeline 1.0. We have Adobe Firefly 1.0, and over here signed by Adobe Inc., which means it was generated by Adobe using Adobe Firefly on July 23rd, 2023. So really cool, right? And right now it is 10 a.m. This was signed at 9:58. So it tells you literally when it was created, so that if you see a historical image, you can know this is not a historical image because it was generated in 2023.
Isn't that great?
And what's cool is you can actually match it back to the image that is on Firefly, right? That was created on Firefly. So we're going to search for similar images, and it will find that generated image in the cloud and say, hey, look at this. This file has content credentials, and these are possible matches from the content credentials cloud that are similar based on visual similarity, right? So if I have an image that has been edited, that has been changed, it will actually find the similarities in those images and pull them back to say, hey, this image might have been created with some kind of AI, which is really freaking cool to be able to see that. That's right.
I love that it's there already. And I think they talked about this at Adobe Max's 5-6 years ago, that knowing this was going to be needed to be there for that authenticity of anything that you're going to create.
Yep.
So wonderful to show that example and how fast it's got that. And then you could take that file, rename it and everything, and still it's all metadata, right? It's in the background that's locked in.
Yep, absolutely. So let's say that I am working in another program, right? And let's say that I have, this is actually a perfect example. So I'm going to pop over to my screen, and let's say I have this image, right? This is an image that I have created with my work, but I'm going to be posting it other places online. What's really cool is you can come in here and go to Window and then Content Credentials Beta. And what I can do is I can enable content credentials, and then I can put all of the information here, right? And so it's going to indicate that there are edits, activity, and it says multiple edits may have happened on devices. It's going to put that in there. So it's saying, hey, this is created without content credentials turned on. Great. It's going to let me know that, hey, this might have been kind of redone. So I'm going to click on preview here, and you'll be able to see, check it out. It has right here, the producer, Andrew Hockrattle, that's me. Some edits may or may not have been recorded. This was imported, which means it's using a file that was imported into this. Unnoted activities, assets, untitled image. So here, if I use different assets from generations, it would pull them all into here, produced with Photoshop and signed by Adobe. So it's really cool. I also can attach my a wallet address if you are doing Web3 stuff, which is really cool.
Probably even better for anything that's audio or video to have that on there, because you can only imagine the tweaking and the messing with things for pure authenticity when it comes to anything that was shot video or audio that you're going to be hearing in the next few years.
Yep. So let's go ahead and see a real world example of this. I'm going to go to Adobe Stock, and we are going to put someone or something into a scene. So I'm going to do real quick just an African Sahara. So what's the Serengeti?
Serengeti.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you for telling me the spelling.
I was going to throw letters until it happened. So we've got African Serengeti here looking good. So we're going to download that. And then you know what? I like these zebras that are happening. So I'm going to license this as well. And let's go ahead and hop into our file right here. We have the eye right here is telling us that that's telling us that content credentials are turned on. And we're going to go, and I'm just going to drag those two images into my document, right? So I'm dragging this in here. I know that I'm going to be compositing them together. And we are going to scale these up. Looking good there. And then I want to go ahead and let's just remove background on this. So I'm going to select subject, see if it can grab these zebras for me. Zebra. Yep. And we are going to mask that and then bring these zebras down into our scene right here. And maybe we want them over here in the bushes a little bit. All right, sure. Looks pretty good. There's some weirdness happening in the tail that I need to fix or else it's going to kill me. Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's just do. Oh no. All right, we're leaving it. Yeah. But
imagine those are gone.
Yes. So this looks okay. And the tool that I like to use to kind of bring everything together is I like to put a gradient map on top of everything. So I'll do a gradient map here. And this is just a nice little trick for color toning is I want it to feel warm. So I'm going to do a little bit of a yellow. We're going to make the highlights that yellow. And then we're going to make the lowlights into just let's do a little nice dark purple, right? Give it some oomph. And we're gonna make both of these pretty light here. And now we're gonna hit OK. So I'm gonna change the blending mode on this and kind of scroll through the different blending modes that I have. And you can see that it's starting to pull those images together in different ways, right? So soft light right here, you can see the difference between the contrast really works well with those zebras in the scene by just adding this gradient map on top. It helps to balance it out, make it look a little more authentic. Again, we're trying to make things look authentic without it actually being authentic, which is crazy. But I can go into content credentials and we're going to preview this and check it out. So it says, hey, there have been color and exposure edits. Images have been combined. There have been orientation edits. There are resizing edits. These are all the images that have been used in this file, and it's been made in Photoshop. So this is a really, really cool tool to be able to put everything into your creations so that if you see them somewhere else, it's always linked to you and shows off your process and gives credit to the people that
if you flatten it and then save it as a different name, does everything stay there?
I don't know, actually. But it looks like this asset has attribution and history data, which is kind of cool. Wow. And so again, it's recognizing that it's from stock, and we could probably pull that from stock. Actually, let's go ahead and export this. And let's see, there's a way to export it with content credentials. And I don't know how to do it, is the answer. Let's go ahead and see what happens if I just save this as a JPEG. I'm actually very interested.
I bet because you are still with it and it's still open, that's going to carry across.
Let's see what happens. So we're just going to name this one Zebra.
Zebra.
So let's come back and see what happens over here in Verify by uploading a new image. So inspect, new file, select JPEG or PNG. I dropped it on my desktop because I was lazy. Zebra.
When all else fails.
See what happens. Oh, it didn't attach them. So there is a certain way to export out of Photoshop to attach your content credentials, but I don't know what it is. Generate.
I know it's there.
Yes, it is definitely here. And I don't know how to do it. I can take a look and figure out export preferences. I don't know, but there is a way that you can export them. We'll follow up in a later video, or I'm sure that Paul Traney has a video that you can look up that shows you how to attach those. But they are there. You can check to see if something is authentic using the Content Authenticity Initiative, which is really cool, with things that have that attached, which is really cool. All right, so Nick, let's hop over and let's talk about some ways that we can maybe make our creations look more authentic, right? And I like that we're taking the opposite side of this, of like, are things authentic? And we're like, here's how to make them not authentic, but look authentic. So we're hopping over into a program. Tell us about where we're going, what we're doing, and how we're going to make something look more authentic.
One of the best tools in a long time for authenticity, for getting things to look real, has been Adobe Dimension. I know a lot of people go like, oh yeah, I have it. Haven't used it. You're like, what are you waiting for? It is one of the best ways to turn art into your product, into something 3D. These are two labels that were created for a T line that is going to go inside cans. And the idea here was like, this is how I would used to show work, right? Like before you show clients like full on renderings and to the point of maybe a mock-up, we would show flat, and this is just so boring. So let's take it into Dimension and show you what we can do. What I have here is each label. I've expanded the background a little bit just to kind of have some safe space. I hold everything together and I right click and I go add to library. And what I've done is I created a new chromatic library here be really diligent with your libraries. I know we go off on some of the ones we make for the show here, but what I love to do is I do them for clients, I do them for projects, and it's just so fun to have them ready to go. We add to library. Now you can see here, I have 2 AI versions inside of my libraries, and they're ready to go. We'll go over to Adobe Dimension. And what's great here is it's literally think of this as a crystal clear, empty playground, sandbox that you get to have some fun with now. You're going to go over here to libraries, go to starter assets, and this is everything Adobe Dimension gives you. We have 2 cans. We have one that has like the cool condensation of water on it, and then we have a clean one here as well. So I'm just going to click that, and we get this ready to go. All these tools here allow you to kind of stretch, bend, have some fun with it. You can move them around. I'm just going to go to the scale tool, make it a bit bigger, and have some fun with it. There we go. Now watch how simple I can turn this into something super original and fun. Go to library.
I think we're going 3D here. 3D.
Yeah, there we go. And then we go to chromatic. We got this ready to go. I literally will just drag the label right to the can. And what I get is this perfect thing here. It's like a label, and you're getting to move this around on the 3D. And watch this. Like, I'm going to get it so I have just the right amount. Perfect. Like, I did that in like 3 clicks, and we're ready to go. All I got to do now is go back to my main tool here. What I'm going to do is move it over like here. And let's do the Option, Shift, and we get the next one here. Notice as I'm moving it, it's the same size, but if I bring it closer to me, obviously it gets bigger because we're in a 3D space here. So now I could take the second artwork. This was a trick I learned live right on Adobe Live because we didn't know if this was going to work. You click on one model and you double click. Notice here in properties, the label shows up in this tiny little swatch box. You go to the next one, which is the watermelon one. I drag it right over to that, and it updates it without any movement, without any kind of finesse. As long as it's the same art and kind of ratio and size, it automatically did that. Now I can go to my tool here. I can move things around, but I'm missing something. I'm missing like a really cool background. And how would you describe this work? Like, what's this aesthetic? I've been trying to capture it with the client right now, but what would you call this? Like,
I don't know, neo psychedelic, like.
Ooh, neo.
It's definitely a new kind of take on psychedelic.
Yep, I love that. I'm gonna do neo, neon, studio background, and I just went right over to Adobe Firefly, and I love this idea of having something here that's gonna be totally unique and cool. So let's see what it does. Neo, neon, studio background. We'll try it out. I haven't even tried the studio backgrounds on there. I love finding new. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's gonna be rad.
This is great. Now I want to do, let's go to the ratio and let's do, I'm going to do landscape. I want it a little bit wider just so I have some clear room here to mess with. All right. Which one do you like the best? Let's see. Oh, wow. These are so freaking cool.
Yep. I think the last one could be cool.
This one?
Yeah.
Let's see. Take a look at it here.
That one or the third one?
You see, the third one. I could put the cans on there.
I think I'm trying to look
for the one that has the most room for the cans. I think you're right. I think this one here. So let's download it. Perfect. We'll continue. Awesome. So I have it in there. We'll go right back to the Adobe Dimension. Look how fast we're like kind of having some fun here. Go here. I'm just going to drag this to the background. Now, we're totally off in kind of like arrangement and everything here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of take the 2 of these here. Those look good. I'm going to like, if you have a scroll wheel, this is the perfect chance to mess around with that. Go to the orbit tool and you'll see what this does is it kind of gets them in the zone. Maybe if I just try them like here.
Oh my gosh.
Or what do you think? The foreground? Or
I think foreground and bring them down so that maybe it's like a little miniature scene. Like it's going to make the whole background look like a small box.
Yeah. Oh,
like they're perfect. In a small box. Just kind of recontextualize. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Oh yeah. Look at this. Now, when you go back to this movement here, watch what's cool. This is just dragging it in space. So I can kind of move it like this and find the perfect thing here.
That's so cool.
Now, there's one other thing that they do that is so fun here. I obviously have lighting on the cans that's just default, but then you bring in something so radically different as the background. When you have it here, you got match image. This will do a few things. What it will do is authentically kind of match the canvas size. I don't need to do that. it can actually match the camera perspective. I think we're pretty good on that. So I'm going to turn both those off, but I'm leaving on create lights.
Okay.
So it's going to look at your background and it's going to create studio lighting to actually match that. So watch what happens. Boom. You could see just a slight touch. You can get the neons and all that stuff here. And to see how it looks even better, I'm going to click on the quick render. You might see me go a little bit crazy.
Yeah,
here.
Nick's computer's going to explode.
There we go. Hopefully the new computer. Oh, I'm still doing good there.
Yeah, you're still no jitteriness here.
Notice the drop shadow. Notice the way it's added it to the environment, and it actually looks authentic. Like, to me, these are those fast ways you can let tools do like 90% of this matching. All you got to do is like bring the content. Yep. And then it will do all this stuff to kind of make it authentic.
Yep.
You. So,
and what's really cool is we're going to hop back over to my screen because there is a tool in the Adobe Illustrator beta. So if you want a beta ever, you can actually see what betas are available to you by just going to the going to the Creative Cloud app, and clicking on beta apps right here. And I know a lot of you probably work in the Photoshop beta. It has generative fill. I'm sure that you're using that. And then, there's an update available I need to install. The Illustrator beta is also there, and you can see all of these betas. There's a lot of betas that are happening right now. So please go check them out and play around with them. Premiere Pro, Premiere Rush, After Effects, Bridge, Character Animator, Audition, XD, Media Encoder, InDesign. Yes, there are all kinds of betas that are testing updates that are on the way or special features, and one of those features is pretty cool. And we've seen it a lot online, and so we wanted to cover it here. And that is the new Mockup feature over here in Adobe Illustrator beta. So I'm going to grab this. This is from our Snapple project that we did last week. If you missed it, it was really freaking fun. And what I'm going to do is I want to take like this kind of aesthetic and then put it onto a can here. And so all I need to do is select my can from Adobe stock and the image vector that I want to put on there. So I don't believe that it works with images. I think it only works with mocking up vectors onto an object. So Adobe is Illustrator is going to analyze the image and create a mockup for me. So what we're going to do is select those two images and go to Object, Mockup, Make. Watch what happens. So it is going to make a mockup based on the bottom object. It's going to put the top object onto the bottom object. You can see there, it's thinking, and boom. So it's off the object because I had it in a weird space, but I can click and drag and watch what happens. Boom. Check that out.
And you're getting all the same controls that we just looked at in Dimension. You can squash, you can squish, you can rotate.
Yep.
You can scale. Look at that.
That's really cool. And so the reason that it actually is looking like this is because I have the object multiplied. I changed the color of the can because it wasn't a blue can. So let me unlock that real quick and you can see what it looks like. And maybe we'll do blue on the can real quick. Let me send this to the back. Let me delete this. So you can see there, pretty cool. And let's go ahead and sample that color in by just grabbing, Andrew. Let's see here. Instance of new symbol, edit symbol. I think I want edit symbol. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So it's basically making it a symbol. So if I come over here and change the color of that symbol to maybe a deep blue here. Hit OK. And now when I come back, there we go. It's going to apply that symbol to me. Wow. And so if I wanted to add other elements to it, right? Maybe I wanted to add, let's see. I think I had some like explosion.
So it's vector only, right?
Yes. Vector only. Yep. So maybe I want to do some of these little snaps for the Snapple. Yeah. Little snaffle. I can come in here and just, oops. Oh, it's really thinking about it. There we go. So I can come in here, just double click, and then we can actually edit that symbol, and I could add other pieces to it. So edit that symbol, and let's add in some of these kind of explosions going around. Maybe one more somewhere down here and see what happens. Now I click out and boom, it has scaled that onto the document. If I want it larger, I can scale these and you'll actually see that it's going to wrap around. So you can see it wrapping around the image, which is a really, really cool feature here in Adobe Illustrator. So just a quick way to make your branding look authentic, right? To just grab an asset, create it as a mockup. And Nick,
in the app.
Okay, so I think what's happening here, and this is so technical, but you've seen us work with displacement maps if you watched the show before. I think what it's doing is it's analyzing it, creating a displacement map, and then tossing your art on top of it. So really cool new feature.
In the background.
Not out yet, but it is in the beta app. You can go play around with it and create some really cool mock-ups, which I think would be fun.
Such a great idea.
All right, let's go ahead. We got about 10 minutes left. We wanted to show, what else do we want to show, Nick? I had another thing that I wanted to show.
We wanted to talk about...
Oh,
we did how to be authentic.
I know what I wanted to show.
I
wanted to show the Unify feature, which is a neural filter. And let me see if I have just a file that I can pull up real quick. So neural filters are something that is in, actually, let's do that. Let's talk about neural filters and let me grab my headshot real quick so we don't have to do this on another person. So neural filters are something that are in Photoshop. Currently, they're available. And you can play around with them, and they are
my lifesavers. I'm telling you.
Yes. So
skin smoothing.
It's wild. So I'm gonna pull up the picture right here. This is my headshot. Oh, look at that guy. He doesn't have a beard. Here I am. I'm grown. We can go to filter and then go to neural filters and watch what happens. Actually, sorry, it's a locked layer, so I need to duplicate that. 1 second. Let me.
I think we've really gotten to use our little photo shoot.
Oh, we really have 100%. So we're gonna go to filter, and I'm going to go to neural filters, and we're talking about authenticity. This is something that, again, is going to take away from that authenticity. So what I'm going to do real quick is, before I apply these neural filters, I want to make sure that people know. So I'm going to turn on, there we go, my content credentials. So I'm enabling content credentials so people know, hey, there's some weird filters happening on this. So we're gonna go to filter, neural filters, and then we are going to apply some of these neural filters. And Nick, I think the best one is makeup transfer. I haven't seen that one. That one must be new. Landscape mixer's new, style mixer's new, harmonization, color transfer. Colorize is great for black and white photos to bring them back to life. Restore is the same. You can actually do that in Colorize. But let's go ahead and do Smart Portrait.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna turn on Smart Portrait, and you know, I look too happy in this. Like, my life is stressful and sad.
Well, let's say you're doing a real serious talk.
Yeah, a real serious talk.
And you need to change your biopic a little bit.
Yes, so I can come down here and just take the happiness down, right? That I need it to be a little less bubbly. So let's take the happiness down and see what happens. It is going to process that in the cloud, and it is going to change my face. There we go. I'm a little less happy. So let's bring that back up here, and let's just set that at regular so you can see what all these do.
Can we make you completely concerned?
All the way down. So facial age. Let's say that I want to look a little more mature. I'm going to go ahead and bump this up. So plus 28. Let's say this is like plus 20 years.
Oh my God, that is the best.
Yep.
Oh, this is crazy.
So we can keep bumping that, and let's see what happens if we take it all the way up. There we go.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty wild.
Wild.
Yes. So let's say that my hair is not exactly how I want it. I want a little bit more hair. So we're going to increase the hair thickness. Yes. And one of the coolest things, again, that if we're talking about authenticity, to me, this is like not being authentic, but in an authentic way. And I think that like things like eye direction, right? If you have somebody looking at the wrong phone, I can grab this and I can move the,
Great reason. Wow. Oh my gosh. But what if someone said, like, we need you to be looking like off to the side a little bit of this image. There you go.
There we go.
It's still your eyes.
It's true.
Still your eyes.
And I want to be more angry.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Maybe less angry. Let's see if I get way more happy. Yes.
The final thing you got to do is put the age down. Go really younger.
Yes.
See what it does.
Make me a little baby. Head direction. So let's see what happens if I tilt my head.
Ooh.
It's getting kind of rough there with those teeth.
Look at that neck work.
Oh. All right, so let me go ahead and do the age all the way down. So facial age all the way down. I'm going to turn into just a tiny little
I wonder if
baby.
it'll even take the mustache away. No. I think it
just
keeps you as
smooth out my skin.
It's the youngest adult.
Yes.
It's the youngest adult.
So it's making me really happy. It's giving me a lot of hair.
Oh my God.
Super surprised.
Yep.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Something else that you can do with here is that restore kind of the photo. And so let's go ahead, and I actually had a friend. Let me see if I can find this file. And this was actually a really, really cool use case of this. Is I had a friend whose mom passed away, unfortunately, but they only had one photo of her. And so I was able to restore that photo and colorize it so they could have kind of a new, new moment with her. And let me see if I can find it. Man, I wish I would have had this to pull up real quick. Let me do a search. Hold, please.
I've been meaning to do that with a ton of old family pictures that we still have like in shoe boxes. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
And some of them are they're like 8x10 black and white, like glossies. They're so gorgeous. So it's not like you're taking a small one that's been weathered. I really want to try some of those and try the colorizing. It should be kind of fun to see.
Yes, it's a really, really good, powerful tool. And I think. I feel like I might have gotten rid of it, which makes me so bummed because it was a great example of this.
I think too I'll do a quick search and see if we can find something.
Nick's just gonna find like an old photo.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that I deleted it. Oh man, what a bummer. But I did create. Let me see if it's in InDesign real quick. We got like a few minutes left. Oh my goodness. I accidentally opened Internet Explorer. Y'all, what is going on? Why are there so many things happening?
Why is it still there?
Gosh. Calm down. Nick, that's a great idea. Let's go ahead and just go to Adobe Stock. So I'm going to go to Adobe Stock and going to go to vintage photo of a portrait.
Here you go. Good idea.
So we're going here, and perfect. This is a perfect example. So we're going to come here, and this is just a sepia tone photo. We are going to open that photo over here in Photoshop. And again, we're trying to keep it authentic without being authentic. So we're going to enable content credentials.
For current day if it wasn't for the shading, right?
Yep.
Like, this might be a good one.
So we can go to filter. We can go to neural filters. And then from here, we are going to go ahead and click on our colorize. Right there. And so from here, it is going to auto color the image. It did a pretty dang good job.
Wow. Kind of looks like, oh gosh, what was his name? Comedian, Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Oh, Phil Donahue.
No.
It doesn't look like Phil Donahue a little bit. So what's cool here is I can also turn on photo restoration. So this is going to restore the photo for me, and watch what happens. It is going to fix these little splotches and little pieces that are on there. So let's see here. We can do scratch reduction. Let's go ahead and increase that. We also have enhanced the face, which is really cool. So giving us more detail in the face.
Yeah.
And let's see if it'll take away these little pieces.
I can't get over how great it did on the hair, knowing it was still going to be gray.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Wow.
And there are some little like pieces here that it's kind of missed, but again, you can go in and change those and fix those manually. It's really thinking about it. Come on. 2 seconds. 1 second. Here we go. Got it. Yes. Ooh. So let's see what adjustments do.
Look at the facial, the skin. It's so interesting what it like all of the things it got right.
Yes. That's so cool. And going back to the colorize again, we can even change these. So if we want to take the saturation up, and it's going there, and we're going to hit OK. Oh.
Wow.
And I believe, okay, let's see what happens. I believe what it's doing. Yes, that's exactly what it's doing.
That's the improvement?
Yes. So it's doing it as a layer of adding on the colors. So it analyzes all those colors, and then it is adding it as a layer. If you change the blending mode to color,
oh my gosh,
it is going to give us that. Right, which is,
isn't that funny? It's neat to see. You'd think there would be so much more involved in turning it color, and that's all it was that very faint kind of like transparent white color. It's so cool.
Yep.
Wow.
And even like if we wanted to, we could come in and probably brush.
Yeah.
This is probably gonna look crazy, but let's try it. I wonder what happens if I brush in some of this color with a very, very soft brush. So we're going to do like 30% here and kind of just brush in on some of these areas, right, that got a little bit left out and looked like they were
just in the jacket.
A little too gray. Yeah, I don't want to get the hand there. And let's go ahead and go to color. Boom, fixed.
Wow.
So you can see there that I can kind of paint in that color that I had to give it a little more of that look. And you can see there, I got a little bit too much on the hand.
Monster hand.
Which I think is fine because I literally can come over here and just grab this color. Oops. Right there. Come back, go to color, and then just brush it back onto that layer. And let's see what happens here. Yep, it's going to bring the life back into that hand. Little color back into that hand. So really cool to be able to colorize using that technique and be authentic. So
there you go.
Thanks for joining us. This was a fun episode of Authenticity. Let us know what you think about some of the stuff we talked about at the beginning. Let us know what you think about authenticity in general and how you can incorporate it into your design. And we'll see you again next week for another episode of Adobe Office Hours.
Later.
There we go. You usually say something at the end, and so I was letting you close it. See you, everybody.